Esports Hub, TGT Esports, and NotiKINGz in association with LevelUp Gaming as their media partner. And finally, guys, we are at the grand finale of Wild Rift India Circuit. We have two titans today going up against each other. Yeah, guys, it's none other than Band of the Hawk and AOT, the top two teams in India who fought against each other. They have a history between them and they are ready to settle this down in today's match. We'll be having a dark breaker today as a guest caster, but before going to that, we have a small analysis section where I'll be joined by various guys over here. We have Dr. Stark, we have Aero, and we have Apollo from all the way from NA region. Apollo, as I said, he's from NA region and he has coached many top NA and EU and SCA teams out there. He'll be here to give his insights on recent patch. He has been following Wild Rift India Circuit and he'll be letting us know what are the things here that we can work around with. So Apollo, thanks for joining in. And guys, like, are you excited? Because finally we are into grand finale. We'll be seeing top two teams in India. Like, what are your reactions? What do you think? How the matches will go?
Yep. So this is going to be after 6 whole weeks of the tournament. We have finally come to the grand finale, the mega event, the Sunday evening as well. It is going to be between the undefeated Band of the, and Band of the Hawk, right? They are two such good titans in the scene right now. And we thought actually in the playoff stage we could have seen that Band of the Hawk somehow clutched and got back a win against AOT. It was 3-2. It was close match, but you see, right? You see it, they still won and they're still undefeated. They might have dropped some matches in the league, but now they're still here and they're at number 1. So will it be AOT winning again and remaining the undefeated Titans, or BOH going back and getting back the win against them and coming out on top?
Yeah, means as you said, like Band of the Hawks gave us a hope, like they actually were going to defeat AOT, but yeah, some mishaps happened around then and there. But Apollo, like, what's your reaction? You coming from a different other region, you have watched how Indian teams play. So what's your overall overview of the matches? Like, you will be talking about Band of the Hawk versus AOT right now. So can you give us some insights on that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I was watching the last game between AOT and BOH, and it was really close. You know, there have been some really close games in NA recently between teams like Tribe and, you know, Immortals, Cloud9, Enemy. And I think the series between AOT and BOH was pretty similar to, you know, the closest of the series that I'm seeing in NA.
Yeah. Okay. I know, like, what do you think about the whole overview, how the teams have come across in this series from last 6 weeks and what do you think the teams have evolved around? They got to work around with few different patches. There came a patch where all the crit items came and suddenly the meta from mid lane shifted towards the ADC lane. So like, so what's your opinion on that?
I think AOT and BOH have very different game styles, how they like to play. You know, Walk has been one of the main person who is keeping BOH afloat, and you know, he is one of the main carry. Everybody wants to play around him. So thing is, I think they will try to still look to play around Walk, and you know, Foxy is still there, but he is secondary carry most of the time. He can carry, but he is secondary carry. How they like to play. But AOT is totally different. Anybody on that team can carry, anybody on that team can pop off, and you know, they can play from top, they can play from bottom. So I think overall meta shifting has, you know, gone in the favor of AOT.
Okay, so yeah, before jumping to all of that, we have seen BOH versus AOT in the last matches. Like, we saw how close that game was. It went to the third game, but Apollo, like you were the guy who was going to tell us like what happened and all. So can we get some opinions on that? Like how, like the second game of where Crowley went in and stole that Baron over there, but before that, RPG San even stole that Infernal Drake. That might have given a Band of the Hawk some breathing space over there. So can we get to that?
Yeah, definitely. You want to look at the screen now?
Yeah, yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
yep. First, let's go for the picks and bans, right, Baba?
Okay.
Yeah. So we saw them playing off against each other. We had a previous head-to-head. So we have seen that the previous time they faced off against each other, we saw three games, and it was 2-1 against them. So AOT won two matches versus one game taken out by BOH. And we saw the first game, right? We saw Crowley playing Lee Sin, and he was able to clutch very hard, but then in the end, BOH was able to win out that one. But going back, when he went back to his standard picks, he went for the Jarvan and the Xin Zhao. If the ban and pick phase, yeah, we can see the bans, right? So let's just discuss about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like yeah, so you guys actually know what are the bands out there, so what do you think about that? Because the first game, if I remember, we saw Galio, Zix, and all those, like the champions that can actually change the whole team fight scenario if you get the better scaling. So those type of champions were banned. So like what's your opinion on that?
Polo?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it was a little surprising for me because there were basically, basically five same champions banned every game with the Galio, the
Yeah.
Ziggs, from the Gragas and the Corki. Those five basically got banned every game. So you never got to see those around. And then that sixth ban was changed a little bit, but it was really interesting how those five champs just not around at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, means yeah, we actually saw the five constant bans. Like no one wanted to give Galio or Zix, and let's be honest, Apollo. Like, what do you think about Zix? Like that guy hasn't received any nerf out there, but if he gets a
Yeah,
scaling, you cannot actually take prolonged fight against him in a team fight situation. Otherwise, he'll just poke you out, and your team will look to just clean everything up.
yeah, 100% Ziggs is super hard to deal with, especially in the later stages of the game. I really think the only way to really deal with Ziggs in competitive is to have dive comps. And you just get onto him in the team fights, and you can kill him before at last edge of the team fight can happen. But if you can't kill him in the first half of the team fight, it's kind of impossible to win. And I do think that's why a lot of teams just find it safer to ban him out.
Yeah.
Yep, the champ is so broken, right? He is the number one poke damage right now. Like he has received multiple nerfs, right? In season 0, many people used to not pick him. Like I've said before in different streams, right? The champ is, I think this will be seen with brand as well, right? Because the champ, compared to the size of the map in PC and versus here, right? The size of his skills are just big enough to cover
Yeah.
a large part of the lane, and that helps him to dominate much more. And the poke size, range, the hitboxes are pretty much bigger for him here because of the size
Yeah.
of the map and the champions. And he's able to deal out so much poke before any fight or whenever the dragon dances happen. Before an engage goes, and you just leave him in the backline and you don't land your engage on him or go in the backline. He's just going to be able to poke so much damage from you. That you'll be basically one ult, a Fed Ziggs can take out half your HP before a dragon fight, and that is just too
Yeah,
cancer.
it's just
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Too OP.
actually. Yeah, so, Aero, like your opinion upon the Galio bans, and like we saw a constant Gragas ban. Yeah, second game AOT got a chance to pick Gragas, and so like Swifty went for Gragas. But
Yeah.
apart of
And
that,
we saw.
we saw constant Gragas ban. When AOT saw Gragas being open, Swifty just went in and picked that champion. So it just goes to show that how comfortable he was. So like, what's your thoughts upon that? Like, how did that change everything for the whole matches? Like, how did it affect AOT, and how did it
Yeah.
affect Hand of the Hawk?
Yeah,
Yeah,
AOT as a team, both of them have champion pool which Gragas can be played. So it can be played top lane, it can be played jungle, because both of them are very comfortable on the champ. That Crowley and Swifty, both are very comfortable, and
Yeah,
it opens up the area where you can go for a mid lane. Something like Lucian or something like Corki, which you don't have to then look for a AP damage or AP damage source. You already have it covered in the top lane, or you can even flex it to jungle, right? So that in that sense, it makes a lot of sense. And Gragas is already a very good pick, and it has been a very good pick in last meta also. So yeah, I think as soon as AOT saw it open, the ban is not there, they went for it, and Swifty smashed the game out of her.
But
So yeah,
last match we saw it, right? We saw the 2.4B is out, and these teams haven't played against each other on this current patch. So Gragas has received a nerf in the previous patch, but
Yeah.
how hard do you think it is
yeah,
going to affect the
yeah.
drunken caster here?
I was just getting to that. Like the recent patch, how does that affect this game on an overall view? Like how it's gonna affect like recent nerf, recent buff on Akshan, nerf on Gragas. Yeah, Apollo, you can go. You can take the stage now.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think Gragas. I don't think the nerf will that be that big of a deal for him because he's still so flexible still. And a lot of roles, a lot of team styles that he can play
Yeah.
in. So I still think he'll see a decent amount of play. Maybe just a little bit more problems in AD matchups specifically, maybe against like
Yeah.
duelists like Riven or Fiora. Um, but I think like the bigger things in this patch, I think Kennen could be viable top mid.
Okay.
Really strong team fighter. We played him in LA a little bit while back. But I'm excited maybe to see him here. He's really fun to see. Um, I'm looking forward to maybe seeing. Well, actually, I think Braum actually might be seeing a little bit less now because we saw it banned every game in the first series. But
Yeah.
with Fawn of Life nerf, and he was nerfed a couple patches ago,
Yeah.
pretty
Shield.
considerably. So I don't really think it's a necessary thing for teams to be banning Braum every game. So it'll be interesting to see how they adapt to that. And then lastly, I think the biggest nerf for this patch was the laundries, which got hit really hard. So champs like maybe Orianna that use Leandries a lot could be seen a little bit less.
So yeah, following up that on that Braum no flow, like yeah, Braum was particularly the S plus tier due to his passive and that shield. The annoying factors are those two things about Braum. But now the guy got a nerf. So what do you think? What are the other support champions that can pop into meta, and what are the other support champions that we can actually see today?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big proponent behind the Rakan. I think Rakan is the best engaged support in the game. It gives you a lot of proactivity, good early potential there with knockups in lane, 2v2 power. You can go for the option of Zaya, but you really don't have to because he can play pretty well with a lot of different ADCs, and he can peel well too. Rakan's got the option of diving in all the way, but he can come back with the E. So Rakan's a big one for me, and then champs like Alistar still think are strong. You could even look for Gragas support or Leona, which we haven't seen a lot of, but so those are definitely options to replace the Braum.
Yeah, so start jumping back to the mid lane. As Apollo said, we the Leander's nerf might affect that Oriana pickups and all, but we know Blizzard to be like he's very comfortable on champions such as Oriana, Ari, then Twisted Fate. So what do you think? What will Blizzard pick today? He was a ADC man. He shifted his role to mid bin, and we thought that it would be hard for him, but we saw him perform against Walls,
Yeah.
against BOH, and those charms on Ari, those yellow cards on TF were so on point. Like it changed everything for AOT at that game. So what do you think about that? Like how will Blizzard perform today? Like as a player, as a mid laner?
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
I mean,
Like he said, right? It's the meta where the Leandis has been nerfed, but while Riot take it away, Riot also gives us. He has given a pretty big buff to Luden Seko is back. So I think mid lane matchups with Luden Seko abusers or the people who build Luden Seko is pretty good right now. TF actually doesn't build that much of Luden Seko.
Yeah.
I've not seen any TF build that, but the best champ to pick Luden Seko, the one which power spikes very well with that is Ari. She's very
Yeah.
good mid game. She's very good for the early game as well for the roams to scuttle and stuff. And we have seen a lot of mid laners in India play the Ari pretty well. And
Yeah.
both Blizzard and Volk are very, very good on these charms. They don't miss at all. And they get one star, one charm, one kill. They get it very well. And since they're very skirmish heavy, right? Ari plays very well into the meta. And since it has buffed, it is very good right now. But Leandry's champions, yeah, Oriana, I think you might be able to get away with using Ludens, but I don't think that is the most efficient build you can go because you're wasting a little bit of mana while you could have just gone for the Seraph's Embrace, getting a lot of the mana there. But yeah, TF is still a very viable pick with the mixed AD AP build with the rapid fire cannon, the Lich Bane and stuff. And assassins obviously like we have seen both these mid laners play, right? They play very team fight oriented mid laners, and AOT never give out the Galio, right? Coming to the Galio ban, they never give out this Galio. They just don't want to give. So it is a standard ban for them coming from 3 patches, 4 patches. Since Galio has been released, they have never given this champ out, and so removes that champ out of the meta completely in these matches. But yeah, Oriana, Ari, TF, we might be seeing these champs today, because both these mid laners don't like to play assassins much. The damage on the assassin side usually comes from these junglers, to be honest, who play all sorts of Kha'Zix, Renkar, they play Zinzao as well. Some damage. They
Yeah.
tend to play more damage and team fight oriented AoE damage dealers in the mid lane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so Apollo, getting back to the current meta and all, like recent patch and all, how means I just want to know, like you told, like how Canon is viable and all, but what about the jungle right now? How does everything affect jungle role? Because jungle is a role where you are not in a lane, you are constantly revolving around the map. You have to look to get those ganks in. So how does this recent patch affect a jungler, like in a way?
Yeah, I mean, I think most of the patch notes don't affect the meta junglers. There's effects to Master Yi and Kha'Zix, but you don't really see them much in competitive. The nerf on Xin not a big deal. So I think the jungle meta will stay more or less the same. Seeing a lot of Xin seeing some Lee Sin, some Jarvan, maybe a little more Wukong. I think is a strong jungler. But those are probably the main ones you're gonna see. Maybe a little Vi, or tankier ones. We saw the Pantheon for the pick comp. I think pick comps are definitely something that I've been seeing a lot from India, with TF, Ari, Pantheon being seen a lot more than maybe you see in NA,
Yeah, those
Yeah.
especially
skirmish
the
heavy,
Pantheon. But
skirmish heavy comps.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, I think the jungle is about the same as last patch.
Yeah. So talking about AOT versus, like we saw, like let's talk about the semi-finals of these two teams. We saw Band of the Hawk versus Band of the Hawk versus TGT, where there came a situation where TGT actually was going to defeat Band of the Hawk, but they somehow came with a clean sweep over there, reverse sweep over there. So, Stark, your thoughts upon that? Like, how did everything change for them? Because we saw, like, Band of the Hawk plays around Walk with Ziggs and all, Enchanter supports. They do not go with any assassin mid and all that. So, like, how does that affect their play style?
See, both Band of the Hawk and AOT are very clean on their picks, right? Their draft and bans, and they are, willing to play the skirmish heavy comms. They fight tooth and nail for every small kill. We see this, but when they play off against the rest of these teams, which we saw in the semifinals, we saw Anti-RR versus AOT, we saw Band of the Hawk versus TGT, right? They were faced with team fight comms. Anti-RR is known in India as the team who plays completely 5v5 fights
Around
or
team.
none.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5v5 fights or nothing, right? Even if they see one person coming, all five will run as if they're
Yep.
tied to each other with hand. But yeah, when they played against that, they AOT, to be honest, had a little bit of problem with that. It was the first time they were forced to go into the fifth game, right? So they had a
Yep.
little bit of issue adjusting, where Crowley couldn't play his usual assassins, or damage dealers in the jungle, and he was forced to take up his a little bit of a passive second support jungle role, like the Jarvan and stuff. And he adapted. They are able to adapt, and they won. But they were forced into the 3-2 spot, right? Same with the Band of the Hawk versus TGT, right? TGT won the first match very, very convincingly, and
Second
it
also.
was, yeah, second also, right? So it was going to look for a 3-0 from TGT side,
Yeah.
but then Band of the Hawk were able to adjust, adapt, and overcome, and were able to get a reverse sweep and get back a 3-2 versus TGT, right? So these two teams are very well known for adjusting in between the series, in between after the first match, after the second match, and they're able to come back with the picks. They come back with the bans, and they respect ban very well
Yeah.
against these champs, and they know who's going to be carrying on the enemy team, right? The thing is, both all the rest of the Indian teams, or at least in the semifinals, we have particular win conditions for each team. But Band of the Hawk and AOT, all their members can somehow get a carry, and any one of these players can carry, because they have very well individual lanes, very good individual lanes, and they're able to come back with even little bit of gold, even a single mistake, they're able to turn around, and
Yeah.
they secure it till the end.
So now
Yep.
let's jump into like the laning, respective laning phase. Top lane will be having Swifty versus Meruem. On the mid lane we'll be having Blizzard versus Walk, and in the jungle we'll be having Crowley versus Camille, and at the bot lane we'll be having IMZ Foxwell from the side of BOH, and Kale and Noxy from the side of AOT. So like let's talk about like 1v1 lane matchup. So Apollo, again, like what do you think about the lane matches over there, like on the top lane, on the mid lane, like overall how teams are going to react to that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the most important thing is that we have the silence communicating with the junglers about how they think the early games are going to go. Because you see a lot of times around scuttles or early ganks, they're just not in sync about whether they'll have prio or they're trying to take 2v2s or not. So you're really hoping that they're going to talk a little bit more about when they want to make plays or when they're not going to have priority in their lanes. And I do think from the last series that these two teams played, I did see some 2v2 kills in the bot lane, which you don't see that often in other regions, but it seemed like a hot spot for aggressive plays. So I think that's a spot to look at for the series.
Yeah, Stark. So, similar question to you. Like, what do you feel like about the bot lane currently, Fox, Wild, and IMZ, and Kale and Noxy? Like, we saw some sort of dominance coming from the side of Band of the Hawk when it came to their bot lane. But if you look at the top lane, we saw Swifty making up for that against Meruem. So, like, overall, like, how do you think the Band of the Hawk or AOT will react to these kind of plays against each other?
Yep. Both these, in all these lanes, like the matchups are even. I think Aero should join in as well because he has
No,
captured
no.
many of these matches.
Yeah.
No, he has a better understanding of these players than some of these matchups. But yeah, I think Baron lane is a little bit. I think Swifty sided. I will state that for now. But what are your thoughts, Aero?
I think it is pretty much clear that it is mostly Swifty sided. Like Swifty has been showing that he is a better player. He is, he can play around even if he is behind from early game. He doesn't get that much jungle proximity from side of AOT. If his team still wants to play around bot, he can still, go ahead and play, come out in a better position than Meruem might be in that same situation.
But what do you feel about the bot lane, which is going to be the carries in the late game, right? With the crit meta and the ADC?
Yeah, I think like this has been in my mind for a very long time. Kale has been told to be like one of the best ADCs in India for longest of time from when he joined AOT, but we didn't see it happening. We didn't see him getting challenged. But when it came against Foxy, I think Foxy smashed him out of park. Like that game on the Kaisa, like 2 or 3 games continuously, he was doing so well against Kale. Kale did play well against other bot lanes, Kale and also Noxy. But I think IMZ and Foxy are just on next level of bot lane. Like they are perfectly in sync.
Yep. I think we should move on to see those matches because we should have a breakdown and like
Yeah.
you described, we should see whether they are able to what the dominance which is being seen in the bot lane of Band of the Hawk versus AOT with the aggressive, very aggressive, assassin style gameplay coming out from Foxwild. So Apollo, take it away. Get some breakdown for us, man.
Okay. Do you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, I think the first thing to look at is always around the 4-minute mark because that's when you start to see a lot of plays being made around that first dragon. And so in this game, it's no different. It's a really good gank here and setup by the Beerus here. A good ult goes out here, Jarvan comes and they get the free kill and they transition just right into the dragon. Yeah, you can see they just they kill Kaisa. I mean, they lose Nami, but it's pretty worth it, right? Because ADC support. So translate this up to the dragon, and the dragon is pretty free, right? Because Kaisa's can't contest, and there's an ADC difference. And then here's another mistake here, right? Pantheon goes in, but there's not really any communication between Pantheon and the rest of the team because Pantheon's like, okay, look, we're gonna test this, let's go. But the rest of the team, doesn't really know that's going on. It's probably communication lapse.
Yeah.
And so that's like the beginning of the lead for Team OT, right? They have a 2K goal lead, and Drake lead, 4 minutes. So for 4 minutes, always look at. There's always a turning point there, usually. So the second thing, I think the second main point here in the game, is here at about 8 minutes, second dragon, right? I mean, dragons. People show up to dragons, right? They team fight dragons.
Yeah.
And so you can see one thing to note. Like, just look at the gold. It's about 3K, but the main thing is that AOT hasn't really extended their goal lead that much, right? So it's mostly stayed the same after the first dragon. For the last 4 minutes have been mostly farming. This top tower is really the only one that's gone down. So they mostly just farmed, then came back to this second Drake. There was the Herald going in bot, but it's kind of late, right? It doesn't really draw any pressure. And then Kragus TPs. And it's just another good team fight for AOT, right? Because Decton is not here at all. He's nowhere close. RV4, the team fight's pretty free. For Band of the Hawk, you just want to see if they're going to contest an objective, they need to have 5 members, right? Because you're not going to win a team fight without numbers. So whenever they're looking for contesting objectives, you just need to see some communication and setup about rotating early beforehand. And the team fight actually does go pretty decent because of the Renekton finally does come, like you can see here. Renekton shows up and cleans up the back end of the fight.
Yeah.
But overall, it's still a 3-for-3 and they lose the dragon. Or actually, sorry.
They
Renekton
got
gets
that
more.
right.
Steal.
But
Pantheon gets a steal on a dragon.
Yeah.
yeah, Renekton does actually get a huge amount of gold here. But overall, I think normally, like on paper, this team fight should not have gone this well, but Renekton just was able to clean up a little more in the back end of the fight.
Yeah.
Just in the cleanup. But yeah, Renekton's pretty fed now though, so that he's gonna be the one to look at in the next team fight. And this is the turning point for Brandon the Hawk, right? Because now they're like 2.5k up from the cleanup. And they actually did steal the Drake. Sorry, that was my bad.
Yeah.
So they did clean up stuff there. And then the other big point for me. So now it's like 4k up. Later on, Brandon the Hawk about keeping the lead. Not that much has happened. And the Baron's pretty free, right? Because you can see they have total control of the map. Let's look at the waves. They have a wave here, a wave here, and a wave here. So like the line on the map that they control is now around here, and so they basically control this river area, right? So this Baron area belongs to them, but you can see there's problems because they do not put any wards in this area. So they actually do not know Jarvan is walking up. They can see him now because he hits this Scryer's Blue, but they're not really in a position to be zoning as well as they should have, because whenever you're taking objective, the biggest thing you should be looking for is, are they going to get a test? And if the enemy's going to test, you need to look for sort of turn or zoning, because you don't want to risk it 50-50, especially when you've got a lead like this. And then so Jarvan just comes in, flashes. That's a very nice steal, but just pretty rough for Brandon the Hawk that they didn't really look to see about the contestation. And then this all finalizes in bot lane. Now Brandon the Hawk still has that 3 to 4k gold lead, but now they've given over Baron, and so Baron is now for AOT. I think this team fight did look pretty good for Red, because Jarvan's not here, right? So you're gauging 5v4, but the other problem is that Ari's not quite here yet, right? She was buying, and then the other thing is that Pantheon just has fallen off really hard. Like Pantheon goes in, he stuns someone, shields for like 1 to 2 seconds, and he just dies, right? I mean, there's nothing really Pantheon can do in the late game except that. So he doesn't really do that much. Overall, Renekton I think is also spikes in the mid game, so Renekton falls off a little bit as well, and it's just really hard to win these late game team fights. Because Lucian and Varus, the ADC scale really well, and although there is the Kaisa, it's really even Ahri, right? It's hard for Ahri to do a lot, because you can see here, even when Ahri gets in, the rest of her team was dead. But just in general, even if Ahri was there, there's still 2 full tanks, right? Ahri has a really hard time against tanks because she can't get their charms onto the back line. So I think just team comp wise, the late game is a little bit hard for Brandon the Hawk, and there was some hope because of that team fight Renekton cleaned up, right? Renekton spiked really hard early in the mid game, but they couldn't really push the lead very well between that and then the Baron. And then once they lost the Baron, there was kind of like a timer of like, once it gets to a certain point, there's just not a lot you can do, and then you lost the Baron, so you couldn't close out for like another 2 minutes or whatever. And then after that point, it's just really hard. So I think after that it was kind of inevitable. The team fight did happen a little bit earlier than maybe it you might have thought it would, but overall the result is the same. And AOT finished up this game too, and then complete the reverse sweep.
Yep, definitely. But what do you feel with the rise? There have been people playing double ADC comp for quite a while, from 3-4 patches. But what do you feel with the new crit buffs? Like what is the counter to this double ADC comp, right? Because you can beat them early game, but there's obviously going to scale out of their mind, and they're able to come back and at the late game ADC scaling, like you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, I do think you really can only go ADC mid with maybe Lucian, maybe Tristana, might be 1 or 2 others, but I think it's really mostly just Lucian that you're going to see double to stay comp with. So this Lucian, I mean, you could ban Lucian, you could take Lucian, you could, I mean, you could build Randuin's, but this isn't like, it's Varus, so he's not building crit. You could take champs like Malphite. I think Malphite's a very popular champ in NA, just because it's really safe top lane and dive is really strong. So it's BOH's comp doesn't really have that much engage aside from the pick, but for Ahri and Pantheon. So in team fights they don't really have hard engage, right? So if they did pick like a 5v5 comp, just go back to the basics, and they picked Malphite, stuff like that, then it might be a little bit easier to get onto the ADCs. But in this comp, they really have no options after like the mid game to get team fight engages, right? It has to be picks only.
Yeah, but since this ADC comes, talk to me about Rammus. Our boy has been ignored for quite a bit. But do you see in India, Rammus is not very picked. You can see AD meta, but do you see it in other regions? Because it's a perfect answer to AD comps, right?
I mean, I think Ramus is good. You don't see him. You don't really see him much in other region competitive play, pro play in general. Ramus is kind of hard because I think he's very like gank dependent, right? Like you need to get ganks. You have to go for ganks. I think it's kind of like a Pantheon in that sense, except that Pantheon has the global, right? So while Ramus does offer a little more team fights, you just really need to be getting ganks with him early. And I think a lot of teams don't pick him because they don't really want to force, early to mid game plays. Because Ramus is not necessarily really a scaling champ, right?
Exactly.
So similar to Pantheon, people don't really play Pantheon or Ramus that much in at other regions right now, I think. But the reason why Pantheon gets a little more play is because he has that global. So I'm not sure if Ramus will see a lot of play right now, but I think it is definitely viable if you want to play for that style of getting ganks early, camping a lane maybe, and just snowballing.
And what do you feel about the drafts when compared to the rest of the meta? I mean, rest of the you've seen Indian drafts, you've seen Indian bans, right? How do you compare it to the current pro scene in the rest of the regions where the game is out already, stuff like that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think looking back at those 5 bans we saw a lot of. The Gragas ban, Gragas is really popular in all regions. That's in line with everything else. Ziggs popular everywhere else too. Galio I think is pretty popular in other regions. I think the Braum might not be as popular in some of the regions right now, but Braum is still generally regarded as one of the top tier supports. And so I think all those champs and the Corki, Corki for sure is really popular in NA as well. So all those top bans are prioritized heavily in NA at least. In terms of these picks that I'm seeing, like in this game, honestly, it's pretty similar. Like some of them are a little bit fringe picks, right? Like you see them every once in a while, like Ari, Pantheon. You don't see too often, but in general, the at least the champions that are being picked are champions that are being picked in other regions as well.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
so
coming, yeah.
so coming back to like what as you said, and so just jumping into the things, like what do you think about the players to be watched out here, like from both the teams, any picks here and there?
Yeah. I mean, I think in the third game, the one after this, the biggest thing in that game was that Kale was just untouched in every team fight, right?
Yeah.
And he had a huge game in the Kaisa, but I was just watching the team fights, and there wasn't a lot of team fights in that game. It was pretty killless. But there was one huge team fight in the mid game where no one touched Kaisa, and they got like 4 kills in that team fight, and then the game like won completely. After that, and cascaded out of control. So maybe Kale might be a player to watch in team fights. I mean, for just for any ADC, you really need to be careful and target those ADCs down in the team fights.
Exactly. We need to talk about the short callers as well, right? We have some stats for you to be bringing up as well. So AOT is a short caller, and the leader is Mr. Crowley. He's the jungler. He's the short caller there, and
Okay.
he usually plays the damage. The dealers. He will adapt. He will play the tanks. He will play Rammus as well. We need to show that as well. Baba, can you bring up the stats of Crowley? I think he should.
Yeah.
Soon. But see, Crowley plays the Lee Sin. He's very 1,300 games on this season, but he will go for the Graves. He will go for the Brinzao, and you leave him on these tanks. He will still go for them, but see, he will short call. He will engage skirmish heavy. He will try to take double scuttle every match, right? So we need to depend on Crowley to go for the engages. We need to depend on his support as well. And if Crowley gets ahead, I think usually the match is clutch for a close. But on the side of BOH, Aero, who do you think it is? I think it's Foxwell, right?
Foxwell, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Foxwell, his Kaisa, his Ezreal, we all know, has been quoted one of the best. But I think I am most excited to see IMZ playing Thresh and Foxwell playing Jinx, because he has been one of the best Jinx in India. One of the in I think in so his play style as a Jinx is so aggressive but so safe at the same point. His positioning is wonderful, and with IMZ being there as a Thresh on his side will be best thing he can have, because thing is, if Thresh is there, he can be so much more aggressive, and there is only one thing he has to do, which is use the lantern to get out of any situation. 5 people can dive him, he just have to use the lantern, get out of that situation. So I think that one, Foxwell and IMZ we have to watch in the bot lane. but yeah, AOT can do same. Both Kill and Noxy are also a very good duo on their side. But yeah, Foxy, if something I want to see from Foxwell, it has to be Jinx today.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so with that, guys, like yeah, we are like we'll be coming back to the end of this session, and yeah, thanks Apollo, thanks Hero, thanks everyone for joining in and giving your time out there. Like, and yeah, do not forget to tune in for the match. Like, it's gonna be one hell of a match. Finally, AOT versus BOH, two rivals going against each other, and this is the Conquerors match. So the one team who will be winning it will be sitting on the top throne of India. Like currently, they'll be considered as the top team here.
And we're going to have Bishi and Darkbreaker casting. The rap god, the
Yep.
Eminem, along with the challenger from you is going to be happening. So I think we're going to have a very fun match. Don't tune off, and we're going to be shifting the screen very soon. But it's going to be very excited match. Sit down, get free for yourself, and get some popcorn if you
Get
have.
some popcorn, get
Are we live?
Yes, we are. Hey,
Okay,
guys.
nice.
Hey, guys, and welcome to another amazing final of the Wildlife India circuit. And yes, guys, with me, before we even talk about the teams, we have the one, the only, the Dark Breaker, Combo Breaker, Caster Breaker with us today.
Combo breaker, that's very good.
And Dark Breaker, man, this is an absolute honor and like really, really fun to have you on the stream today. And how are
Yeah,
you doing? I
nice.
just want to get started before that. How are you doing today?
Okay, thanks for having me, first of all. And it's gonna be interesting to see the two best teams in India face it off. And gonna be exciting what type of playstyle they are gonna do. And then also, how, yeah, it's a best of 5 series. They are gonna be nervous, and then it's gonna be also exciting to see how they can handle the pressure and which team is gonna come up on top of this. So let's see, and hop right into the draft.
Yep, there we go. So there you have it, guys. The match is between Band of the Hawk and AOT, two of the strongest teams in the Wild Rift India circuit, and the bans have already taken place in chat. So we are just about to head into game. I will quickly just note down the bans for this game. AOT are on the left side or the blue side for this game. Galio, Varus, Lulu, Brom, Ziggs has been banned out. I think we're just waiting for last ban to come out from Band of the Hawk, and then we can quickly get into it. And I'm super excited. The chat is going crazy at this point. DB stickers are coming out crazy. So again, it's an absolute pleasure. And again, guys, we're gonna have a cracker of the series because the last time AOT and BOH faced, it was in a best of 3 in the league stage, and it was very, very close because AOT nearly edged out a win through a insane a Baron steal coming out from Crowley. But this time, it's gonna be crazy as well. And again, Darkbreaker, like I just wanted to ask you, what are your current thoughts on the patch updates? Now 2.4b has just gotten out. A lot of the champions that we saw, like Xin Zhao or other champions, have been nerfed. Are you finding any changes in the last couple of days in terms of what seems strong in the meta in general?
I think, yeah, picks like Sincho are still gonna be strong if you know how to play him. It's just a slight nerf in the early game, but if you pay attention to the bans, they're banning like poking compositions. There's Lulu, very strong combo. Ziggs, also strong pick. It's like with the Luden's Echo buff, all the poke compositions are gonna be very strong now because you have, instead of 20 ability haste, you have 20 ability haste. So poking champions are going to be very strong, and maybe we're going to see Ari. I would say she's not bad in this patch if you can pick a player correctly. And with that pick, you said the AO team is very aggressive. I feel like it's a very good playmaking champion assassin with a lot of poking damage on top. So I can see the potential on that pick now in this patch. And otherwise, I would say most champions are still pretty much the same. Akali, even though she got nerfed, she is definitely still an S tier pick, even in competitive, in my opinion.
Crazy. I mean, we do have players here who do play Akali as well. It's going to be very interesting as well, considering it's a best of 5. So, you know, even if you've dropped the first game, right, there's ways for you to come back. And I think that's what the beauty of a best of 5 series is, right? Like, you get time to adapt. Like, if your enemy is playing something that you just can't play, ban it out and, you know, like, try to hopefully deal with it, right? So, the bans, guys, have been taken place. Just to remind you, Fiora has been banned out. So has Varus, Brom, Ziggs, Lulu, Galio. The Indian meta Darkbreaker, we love to ban Galio. Just want to let you know, because we don't know how to play against a champion that's just constantly team fights.
I mean, Galio is a strong comp pick. Like, he has great crowd control. He has the AoE taunt. He has the flash taunt combo for engaging. He has the ultimate for follow up for engage comms. He's also good for peeling back because he can frontline against AP compositions, building magic resistance, and then you can just taunt for your teammates, and the others can just kite back and attack while you're tanking, for example. So definitely Galio is a solid S tier pick in competitive. Very versatile both on the support and in the mid lane, and even in the top lane you can play him if you want to. So definitely solid pick. So I can definitely see the ban incoming. Fiora, I guess one of the players is very good at playing aggressive top laners, I guess. Otherwise, Fiora, solid pick, and I mean she's very annoying in the laning phase. So I can definitely see, okay, maybe I want to play a champion where I don't get bullied by the Fiora, so he just bans it out. So he has an easier matchup.
Yeah, I mean, Fiora is a pain to deal with, honestly. Especially if you take grasp on her, she becomes one of those champions where, yeah, laning phase definitely not easy. But I know you have played Camille into Fiora many times, and you've come out on top using that. So maybe you'll end up seeing a bit of Camille as well.
It's a skill matchup after all. Where they're telling the voice is cracking. I think maybe it's the connection.
No, I think it's fine. I think
maybe it's just his connection.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, you're talking about the skill matchup between Camille and Fiora, right? Like, but I've seen you outskill that matchup a lot of times. Like, I think all of us in India, we love watching your streams. You know, all of your YouTube
Nice.
content, and I can tell you personally, right, where everyone, when we said Darkbreaker's coming, everyone's hyped up, and not just people from the Wild Rift community, but we have a lot of people from the AOV community as well. Right? And you know, they know you from that point onwards, right? Where you know, Arena.
Yeah, I know the Indian community is like so huge that like you have so many mobile players. So imagine Wild Rift is gonna get released in India. I can definitely see that tons of players from India are gonna join and be active. Like when I was playing AOV, the Indian community is very big in mobile gaming. So they'll probably hype when it's gonna come out for India.
Absolutely, like, you know, like we're just waiting for the game to come out. But until that point, you know, like the community, like, you know, you guys have said, LevelUp India and the Wild Rift India community, we've just gotten this tournament together, and you know, we're trying to just keep the game going because hopefully the game does come. It's launching in China on just like a few days as well, and Worlds is also launching. So it's going to be a matter of time, hopefully, before India gets it as well. I've just been informed that the player is logging, guys. So we just had a very quick delay. One of the players had some network issues, but hey, you know what, guys? Bans are done. We are here. We are going to get the match started very quickly. I can't wait for DB to chime in on his inputs on the meta. He's excited himself to see how India plays Wild Rift because he's seen EU play. He's seen some bits of China, some bits of SCA, right? So this is his eyes will be on this game, and we're like just super happy to have you, right? So we'll just move quickly into the lobby screen until that point where we see all the 5 or 10 players are there. So on the screen, hopefully, let's just move that. And I can see everybody in chat is also very hyped about this matchup because we've been waiting for this for a really long time. You know, the whole tournament has taken place over 10 weeks. We had 50 teams participate. We had 150 games played across 2 separate leagues. Right, so this is where it all boils down to, right? This is the finale. This is where, you know, every 10 weeks of effort, right? All the 15, 20 matches every team have played, they come down to this in this final best of 5, right? So nerves will be at their highest, and I can see already the last person, Foxu, is already in online, so he is gonna get started. But quickly, DB, I have been reading your tweets a little bit. I read your recent tweets about matchmaking and how you've been speaking to Riot devs.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I wanted to ask you, like, do you feel like finally from 2.5 we might just see some better matchmatching coming in? Because I've seen your plight, I read your tweets. I know it's not
Yeah.
been easy to play challenger queues or
Yeah,
any other queues for
exactly.
that matter. So what are your thoughts on that?
I would say like I've been in talk with the leading dev for the matchmaking is Joshua, and he is like really hyped, and he has been doing a lot of games, like matchmaking for a lot of games in the past, and like one of the ex-writers who was working for Wildshrift is JCDM. Like he is also speaking very highly of Joshua, and they have been beta testing a new matchmaking system. So hopefully it's gonna improve the matchmaking for 2.5. And yeah, I mean I really hope it as well, because I'm not finding any games on my main account. So I'm trusting the dev that yeah, the system he's gonna implement for 2.5 is gonna work out as he's intending to. So the queue time is gonna be bigger or better. Match timing gonna be quicker. So also that the matches in general are more balanced. And yeah,
Yep,
let's see.
absolutely. Yep. Hopefully,
In 1 month.
you won't have to create 10 different Smurf accounts after you reach Challenger anymore. Hopefully.
True. Not
Alright.
10, but like 5. Like 5.
Alright, guys, let's just get into game right now. Everybody is ready. Game 1 of the finals of the Wild Rift India circuit between Band of the Hawk and AOT is about to get ready as we head into the draft phase. AOT is on the blue side. The bans will be shown on your screen right here. And in general, AOT's jungler Darkbreaker, he likes playing aggressive champions like Lee Sin and Xin Zhao really in your face. So we might potentially see that come out from him this game. And AOT's jungler is more of a J4 Wukong sort of a playstyle where, he'll play for the team.
Gargoyle, tanky.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm quickly just gonna wait out and see now that the bans are in the screen, guys. First pick coming out from blue side could be a priority support pick as well, because supports often get contested. But Gragas was left open in ban phase, and that's just going to be your first pick. And Swifty and jungler, both the Baron and jungler both love to play Gragas, so could be a flex pick, right? What do you think of Gragas in the meta? Because he's like one of those champions that you can play in many games, right?
Yeah, I think he's very popular in the support role right now. Also can be used, obviously, tank Gragas in the lane, but I feel like with the nerf, his laning phase is definitely weaker than before. Still overall, flex pick, you can play him AP in the jungle, you can play him top lane tanky or support. As the AOT jungler also